How are you? So, yesterday we were talking about how we can create story or a successful story through just building up concepts that we can create through either themes or through a time period or through our characters, okay? Now, what I did for us is I went ahead and I put together some instructions just to kind of recap what we were doing. So here's a preview, and I'm gonna put these into my website. That way you guys can actually see this stuff. But some of the things that we talked about today, just a quick review, was, for example, if we look at the first list, was the materials we were gonna need for the class. So the first thing was a trifold for your background, meaning somewhere where we can create the ambience or the environment that the characters are going to be in. Two characters for your animation, props to fill your environment, a sketchbook for your story ideas. So I'm hoping you guys can at least have the first thing down for me, which is a trifold for the background, or some kind of cardboard piece we can work off of. The other ones we can trickle in slowly as the week goes on. Okay. The second thing that we talked about was again the importance of story. Um, I noticed some of you guys are working together to create some of your stories, so I'm hoping that will help you guys develop some of your concepts to create successful stories that we can use for our shooting when we start taking some of our characters and the backgrounds and the props and creating a story that has purpose, or shooting the characters with purpose. And I'll talk more about that later. And the last thing was what I expect to see tomorrow from you guys. So again, I can't be there tomorrow. So Miss Green will be there to supervise and make sure you guys are working on this stuff. But I'm expecting you guys to continue to work on your stories. To please continue to work on a period, or look for a theme for your stories. Really go in depth to what you're trying to do, to really create something that's gonna have a really good body to it, right? That's gonna have a nice filler to it. And the last thing is something I didn't cover, which I'm gonna cover in my second video, is creating a good introduction, a good middle, and a good ending to your story. Now we didn't get a chance to talk about that, so we're gonna talk about that next. Okay. So again, this was just an introduction to what we had reviewed. So this is like the first portion of what we had reviewed. Okay. So this part one. I'm actually gonna see if I can fit in part two, and if not, I'll do it on my next video. But some questions that you should be asking would be, what's an introduction to your story? And I put here, it's how we get to know your environments and your characters. So really, when we look at those first couple of shots, we can understand where the story is taking place, where we're shooting it, and why we're shooting it there. Okay. The next thing is what makes a good middle to your story, and really what it is, it's what keeps me interested in what's happening to you. What's keeping me interested in what's happening to your character? What's that struggle, right? Like what's the purpose? Like why is it that your character's in that shot? Why is it that he or she's doing what they're trying to do? You're keeping me interested through that. And the last thing is going to be what's a good ending to your story. So we think about our ending, and again we'll go more into this more in depth as I start designing. But we have to think about in like at the end of your story, how does your character, he or she, resolve their problem? So remember, we're shooting stop motion. So when we're thinking of a story, how do our characters resolve their problems, which can happen in whichever environment that we choose to put them into, but how do they do that? So again, that was the beginning of this. These are the notes. We'll go over them slowly, and I'm gonna hopefully get you guys to understand what the next process of this production is. Okay, thank you.